Well, let's talk now about just how significant this latest declaration is and, of course, how it could impact the epidemic across the US. Our chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, joins me now from CNN Center in Atlanta. Thanks for joining us, Sanjay. The main thing to come out of there, I guess, is the fact that this is a national public health emergency as opposed to a national state of emergency. Why is that significant?
Well, the big difference, Hannah, it really with a national public health emergency versus a national emergency or national disaster is the size of funding and the scope.
Stephen Collinson standing by for us at the moment in Washington. Stephen, the president, even when he was on the campaign trail in the run-up to the election, was talking about tackling this issue head-on. Is he delivering on that today?
A lot of the president's critics have faulted him for waiting 9 months into his presidency to give this speech, and they say the fact that there's not new money for this initiative so far is proof that the White House has been dragging its feet a little bit on this, the sweeping nature of his speech.
Yeah, I mean, Sanjay, your thoughts on that, the language that the president used. Is he somehow simplifying what is a very, very complex issue from a medical professional's point of view when we hear from the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, saying just say no when it comes to drugs, and we hear the president himself saying we will eradicate this, we will end addiction? I mean, is that realistic?
It's obviously a very audacious goal. I think I agree with what Stephen is saying. I mean, I think that in some ways he struck the chords that you'd expect him to strike.
It was Raila Odinga, the opposition leader, who, of course, called for civil disobedience and called for a boycott of this vote. He himself pulled out of the running of it. With that in mind, one wonders why Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, decided to do a rerun in the first place when the very democratic viability of the ballot was in question from the start.
You know, from the start, Mr. Kenyatta has been adamant that his Jubilee Party would go for an election with or without his competitors.
Erin McLaughlin has been on the story all day from the Catalan Parliament and joins me now live from Barcelona. Erin, how big a political crisis is currently at play in Spain?
Oh, this is a very serious political crisis now, having been deepened with this latest decision by Catalan President Carles Puigdemont to not call for regional elections.
That RT and Sputnik were being used by the Russian government to influence the 2016 elections in the United States in favor of Hillary Clinton.
Social media platforms have been under pressure for so long now, not just as far as election interference is concerned, all sorts of issues such as terrorism and the like as well. What might this decision by Twitter to block the ads do to, say, Facebook or the others?
Well, I think this just opens a Pandora's box because now they are going to have to be the arbiters of truth.
Our senior media correspondent, Brian Stelter, joins me now live from New York with more on this. And, Brian, if nothing else, this just shows that this kind of culture of sexual harassment is rife across all media sectors, all spectrums.
Yeah, the Weinstein effect continues. It's been 3 weeks since that original New York Times story about Weinstein's wrongdoing.
Jessica, no doubt Democrats, Trump critics as well, they're going to be making hay with this, saying that all fingers should be pointing at Trump-Russia collusion based on this what's just come to light. One person in particular who's been very vocal about that, saying this is evidence of collusion, is Adam Schiff. He's the ranking Democrat of the House Intelligence Committee. Take a listen to what he said, and we'll talk on the other side of it.
It's part of a pattern. We have the president urging the Russians to hack Hillary Clinton's emails. You then have the Russians reaching out through intermediaries to offer dirt on Hillary Clinton. It's part of filling out the picture of this relationship between the Trump campaign and the Russians.
So, Jessica, I mean, he's saying there this is all Trump, 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 but, I mean, there are always two sides to every coin here. So my question to you is Clinton's emails or the Trump dossier? Which one's shadier?
That is up for the partisan politicos to debate. Of course, this has become a very partisan issue on both sides.
So the big question, what could be in these files? Larry Sabato is the author of The Kennedy Half Century and director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. I'm delighted to say he joins us now from Charlottesville. Thanks so much for joining us, sir. So I put the question to you then. What could be in these files, and why wait so long to release them, and why release them now?
It was totally unnecessary to wait 54 years for most of these files to be released.
Still many questions being asked as to why U.S. troops were on the ground in Niger in the first place. What have you uncovered?
Well, you know, the U.S. has had a presence here for the better part of almost the last 2 decades as part of their broader AFRICOM mission that is tasked with going after various different terrorist or extremist networks.
Now to my favourite story of the day. Imagine you're about to propose to the love of your life. You have it all planned out, you've got a beautiful ring, the perfect location. Then you get upstaged by a baby hippo. Yep, that's exactly what happened to Nick Kelball. He popped the question to his girlfriend, Haley Roll, at the Cincinnati Zoo. But when he knelt down, a baby hippo named Fiona, important detail that, came over to check out what all the fuss was about. Well, we're very pleased to tell you that Haley indeed did say yes. Fiona gave her seal of approval. The zoo calls Fiona, quote, a little hippo with a big personality. Wonderful picture there, and congrats to that pair as well. This has been The World Right Now. Thank you so much for watching. Stay with us. Quest Means Business is coming up after this break.